Welcome to The Climb. It's a show dedicated to helping singers and songwriters and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. As a matter of fact, that's literally what The Climb means. It's an acronym. It stands for creating leverage in the music business. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent is an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. He also helps songwriters turn pro by teaching the art, the craft, and the business of songwriting. And you can find him at manvsrow.com, which is manvsrow.com. Brent, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing all right, Johnny. And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. It's an innovative artist development company. Not only do they develop and improve your artistry, they also grow and monetize your fan base, creating cash flow. And for those of you on the podcast that can't hear that, that's me rubbing my fingers together like I'm making money. All right, Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S. Hey, Johnny, good to see you, man.
How are you, brother? Good to see you too, man. So the name of this episode here is actually the first episode is Why Should You Listen to Us? What the hell do we
Exactly.
So let's get into that.
Ask myself that on a daily basis.
A little bit about your background, like where you're from, where you went to school, what you do.
Hobbies, interests, things I like to do. Yep. Well, because, hopefully y'all you're gonna stay with us on this journey and stick around, and hopefully we'll have a lot of good stuff to tell you. So we should, give you some reason to listen to us, I guess. So yes, I am a lyricist by trade. So me do words good. All right, that's what me do words good. I'm a lyricist. I'm a songwriter, and I'm from Arkansas. I've been in Nashville right now. It's late 2015 at the time of this recording. So I've been in Nashville about 13 and a half years now from Arkansas. So I started writing lyrics when I was a sophomore in college at Arkansas State University. And so I got out of grad school, moved to Little Rock, worked for a couple of years, finally made the move to Nashville in 2002, March of 2002. 2 years to the month after I moved here, I got my first cut. There's a song called Monday Morning Church, which was a cut by Alan Jackson, ended up getting singled, and it was a top 5 hit for him and won a couple of awards, like NSAI's Song I Wish I'd Written award for that year, and also won an ASCAP award for airplay. So that is exactly how you want to start off your career. It's just there's nowhere to go but level off. I wish. So yeah, started off with a big bang. My co-writer on that song, Erin Enderlin, she's also from Arkansas. That's where we met, was there, and it was her first cut as well. So both of our first cuts, and that got us in the business. And using that kind of leverage, since we're about creating leverage in the music business, nothing like getting a hit to create some leverage. Helped me get my first publishing deal at Major Bob Music. Which is, for those of you that don't know, that is the publishing company that was kind of formed by Bob Doyle. He's Garth Brooks' manager, so it's kind of the house that Garth built. So I got to be there. I was there for 3 years and got a couple more songs cut on there, some that never saw the light of day because the artist never put their record out.
Wasn't, let me interrupt for a second. Wasn't Pamela Lewis Bob Doyle's partner in that?
She was not a partner in the publishing company, but yeah, she helped launch. But
in the manager in the launch and everything of Garth, right?
Yeah, in the launch of Garth. Yep, Pam Lewis. Yep, and so she wasn't in the publishing company, but yeah, so it was Bob's company, and so we got a couple songs out of that catalog. Got cut. Randy Travis, a guy named John Pierce on RCA, and that's one of those. The record never came out, which was too bad because he's a heck of a singer, and we became friends, but. Got a couple of songs cut out of that, and then left that deal, went and got a publishing deal with a joint venture of RPM Music and Peer Music. Some songs out of that catalog got cut by artists like Randy Cruz, which is just a dobro phenom and just a great musician, Grammy-winning producer. He cut a song of mine called Sunday Clothes. I also got cuts by Ray Stevens during that time, and a cut by Joe Nichols, and a Christian cut by Charles Billingsley. So got some activity during that time, and then moved on to a publishing company called Infinity, Writers Infinity, and got some nice success there. Had a song cut by a Canadian artist named Gord Bamford, And we actually got his first number one. He's had several hits up until then up in Canada, but we actually wrote his first number one together with producer Byron Hill. And it was a song called When Your Lips Are So Close, and went number one up there, gold single, and actually won the Canadian Country Music Award Single of the Year. So that was nice in 2014, I guess. And, you know, a couple other cuts here and there. And thank you. I've had some cuts by Lady Antebellum and some other Ray Stevens cuts, had several by him, which are fun. He's a comedy legend. And yeah, just hammering away. And right now I blog at manvsrow.com. You mentioned Man vs. Row. Teach the art, craft, and business of songwriting. I write with some artists, write as much as I can, which is not as much as I want to. And just trying to keep on making some stuff happen. So that's me in a nutshell.
Here's what I like about you. I like that, I mean, you came out of the fences swinging. You had a plan. You got it done. And then, but you've had some trials and tribulations, haven't you? It's not a cakewalk. I mean, even with a hit right out of the box, you're still out there struggling like everybody else and making it happen.
I tell you, it's, you know, because I didn't realize, I mean, I knew it was just a blessing to get, you know, have a hit 2 years after moving to town, basically 2.5 years. And the longer I'm here, the more I realize just how amazing that was, because I was such a young writer. I mean, I couldn't get arrested, you know, with that song. Nobody wanted it. I played that song for publishers and nobody was interested in it. The few I could get to play it for. And so it kind of came out of nowhere. It's kind of disconnected from the rest of my life. You know, I'm still trying to find co-writers, and most of my co-writers don't even have publishing deals yet. They're unknowns like I am. Then all of a sudden you got the song flying up the charts. And so, yeah, it's kind of out of nowhere. But one thing I've learned is, like, you don't get to skip those steps. It's not like I got to just automatically get in with a bunch of number one writers and get hit after that. So it's like you don't get to skip those steps. Even though I took one of the later steps out of order, I still had to go back and get all the, you know, get my teeth kicked in even after that, you know.
Well, that's just it. Everybody's always like, if I just meet the right people, if I just get one hit, it's all good. It's like, it's good, but it's not all good forever. Cause, you know, then after that, you know, the next cut was a guy named John Pierce on RCA, cut a song I wrote with Byron Hill called Ring on the Bar. A song that we really, you know, have gotten some other love on, but nothing major yet. But yeah, John cut it, you know, the next year I'm like, all right, got to cut on RCA. And then first single didn't do that great. Whatever he got out of his deal, record never came out. I was like, oh, okay, well, but I got a second cut. Okay. It was in the can, just never made it to the shelf. And then like the next year got a Randy Travis cut. So I was super excited about that. But that record didn't come out for like 2 years after that. And then, you know, at one point got like some Lady Antebellum cuts, and they both ended up being like bonus tracks or iTunes Europe bonus track, you know? So I'm still like, you're famous. You're big in Europe, dude. You're big in Europe.
Big in Europe on iTunes. If you can find me, it's called Last Night Last by Lady Antebellum. So
now talk about
still having to climb that ladder.
The new artist that's coming out on Curb.
Yeah. I've been writing for several years now with an artist named Ruthie Collins. She's on Curb Records, and she put an EP out not too awful long ago. I guess it's almost been a year now. So, but put out an EP on iTunes, and she cut a song of ours called Vintage, and she's great. So, you know, just kind of building the machinery, going out, playing radio tours and starting to play shows and putting hopefully the finishing touches on her full length album here soon, and hope to have a couple on there. So have one out there with her, which is nice. And we'll see how the rest of it goes. So just doing some of that stuff, planting seeds and waiting for them to grow.
And that's right. If you want corn, you got to plant corn.
Exactly. So, so even having, you know, publishing deals and having some success, it's still like pulling teeth, you know, it's still a struggle to get in there and try to make something happen. And over the course of, you know, the podcast, we'll talk about some of that stuff and some of the mindsets and some of the stuff that keeps me in it and the ways I'm trying to have more success. And, but this is not just my podcast. I don't want to talk all about me. Johnny, why don't we learn a little bit about you? Why in the world should we listen to you, Johnny? Which is what I ask myself on a daily basis.
Okay, I guess I talk about it. Yeah. No, I've been through it on both sides. I started out as an artist. You know, I was, man, I had my first band in 7th grade, you know, and I built that band up into something that was playing the clubs regularly during high school, and then got a tour contract right out of high school. And then the Allman Brothers, some guys that work with the Allman Brothers, found our band and started developing us. And we moved down to Florida, and I toured for 7 years of my life. I was in a hair band. I was in here's a little picture I got for you right there. That's
that is
handsome.
Kid Gypsy. With a name like Kid Gypsy, it has to be Harry. That's right.
It has to be Harry. That's right.
That's right.
But we toured for 7 years. I mean, I made a living as an artist for 7 years of my life, and went through the trials and tribulations of touring, of politicking with road crew, trying to get over state borders, trying to get over international borders with long hair and a truck full of God knows what, because you don't know who the new guy is ruined one day, what they're going to find and pull it apart. You know, you're like, I hope he's smart. You know. And we got right up to, I mean, we're talking with Warner Brothers. We were starting to develop a relationship, work out a deal, and the genre ended. You know, the Nirvana record took hold, the music stopped, and we didn't have a chair. So I moved to Nashville after that. What a good record, right? Some people are bent, but it was good. It was really good.
If you got to get slapped out of the market, at least it was by,
something really freaking awesome.
It was good, yeah.
Yeah, and so I moved to Nashville after that. Like I grew up in Wisconsin, and we were based out of Sarasota, Florida. So the Nashville was like exactly halfway between where I lived and Sarasota, and I was going to come home and lick my wounds and figure out what the next play was. And I actually ended up stopping in Nashville on a Monday night. That was exactly halfway, 12 hours. And got a room at the Motel 6 right off of Harding Place in 24. Up a Nashville scene, and I thought I was just going to see, because I always had it in the back of my head, Warren Haynes from Warren. We got a lot of access to the Allman Brothers, so we got to know some of those guys. And he was always talking about Nashville and everything, and I thought, man, this could be cool for me as a songwriter. And it just felt like I needed to do it. So pick up the Nashville scene. I go to a club, this bar is not even around anymore, on a Monday night, and it just turned out that this particular writer's night was one of those nights where you had to have a number one hit to be on the panel. So I'm just sitting there on a Monday night having a cocktail in like a half-empty bar, right? And there's Bud Lee, Friends in Lonely Places, and two other guys that if you put a gun in my head, I couldn't remember what their names were, but I knew every darn song that they wrote. I was like, what? And they're just up there, three guys just passing, doing a guitar pull thing. And I was like, holy cow, this is where I'm coming. So I went home, got a job, worked for 4 or 5 months, and came back to Nashville. I lived here for 2.5 years, and made a lot of relationships and a lot of friends. And then I got an opportunity to get into business outside of the music industry. And I was into writing, and I was into deepening that, but I really was kind of needed to get out of the music industry for a little while. It just, I was just like, I didn't even do anything wrong. What happened? Like one day they just stopped taking our calls because everybody just decided, some God high above decided, you know what, hair bands suck now. Right. And you're like, wait a second, I didn't get the memo.
All right, cut your hair, then grow it back out and put on some flannel. And
so I got into, I found out I was really good at business and really good at sales. And I got into the electronics manufacturing industry, and I built up a West Coast customer list with this product that had, this company had a walk-on water product for soldering and desoldering raw circuit boards. And that's, so it was really, really powerful product in the prototype labs. So, man, I was in some really awesome aerospace companies like, Lockheed Skunk Works, Boeing, and some really sort of creepy places where you needed to give like blood and your firstborn to get in, because they were looking, Raytheon Defense and newer sites where they manufacture the nuclear missiles and stuff. And I built up a really great business there with a awesome customer list of the top names of these top aerospace companies. And then the dot-com crash happened, right, followed by a cyclical recession, followed by the terrorist attacks. Boom, 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 like 1, 2, 3. And that crippled the economy. And then the manufacturer that I worked for was like really, like he understood, like he paid me really well, but it was all percentage based. It was all performance based, which I was good at and fine with, and I made really good money. But he cut his prices because he got scared. And the net result to me was like a 50% pay cut. And so I needed to move on. So then I got into electronic circuit board design. There was this East Coast company that saw me, because we would do trade shows and have this little 10-foot booth, but I would have like 4 deep of these propeller head, like electronic engineers, like, what are you, oh my God, because this machine was so crazy cool. And he just up there freaking out. And that was a rock for me. It was like no different, you know. It's just now I got a suit on and my hair's cut, but I was sitting there. So I would do that. And these guys are like, we want you to work for us. So they hired me on as an executive, and I worked with them doing running the East Coast with them. They started procuring. They liked my customer list. They paid me for my customer list. And this is an important connection here as to what we're about in the music industry, okay? But that was worth a lot of money to me because I got a really nice fat salary. Plus, they're like, how much for that customer list? And I got to negotiate because they wanted those names. I had relationships with those people, and that's what they wanted. And to these days, both those CEOs from those companies are men that I consider mentors to me. I learned a lot about business from them and how business works and how people think and the psychology of people. And then that whole recession kind of filtered up from the manufacturing industry into the prototype labs. And so I was the low guy on the totem pole, and I was let go from that company just because they had to contract. And then I got into the finance industry. So I was into mortgages and marketing. And that's really kind of where I started getting out of sales more and into marketing because, and this is like kind of a famous story with me, but one day I'm cold calling on mortgages, working for a huge company called AmeriQuest, which sponsored like Super Bowls when they were the Stones tour. I mean, they were massive, right? And this guy just on the other end of the phone is like, I just hear him sigh. He's like, and I'm like, what's up? And I'm trying to deflect the whole, because I know he doesn't want to talk about mortgages, but it's a cold call essentially. I know he wants one. And he's like, man, you're the 70th guy that I don't know today to call me about a mortgage. And I was like, man, there's got to be a better way, you know? So as much as I wanted to get out of the music industry, like every dime of discretionary income that I had, I put into building a recording studio in my house. Because I wanted to develop artists, and I started doing that out in Los Angeles. I moved out to Los Angeles at this point, and I was out there developing different artists and playing around in the studio and just having fun and exploring and being creative. And we turned this recording studio into a radio show. I got to take on 50% of the downside. I would have to share 50% of the upside, but I failed. I was covered on 50% of the downside, and we bought some time on a radio show, figured out how to make that work. And it took a month. I mean, we took our lumps. It was foreign. We didn't know what we were doing, but we figured it out fast. And then boom, all of a sudden I go from one radio station to 5 different stations in 3 different markets. And I'm getting like 70 phone calls a week. Instead of me calling people, they're calling me. And like, I want to talk to you, Johnny. You know what I was doing? I was giving free information. Like, here's what's going on in the mortgage industry. Here's what you need to look out for. Here's the traps. Here's, be smart with your money. And people responded to that. And I saw that. And so I was teaching them how to be better at shopping for a mortgage because it's complicated. They trusted. They came to me to do their mortgage. And that was doing really good. And I mean, at one point we were grossing, we're doing 20, 25 loans a month, my partner and I. It's just a lot. And this is Southern California. So the average loan size, $350,000. And we were grossing $250,000 a month, Now there's a lot of overhead in that. I had to give a lot to the house. I had to give a lot to my employees and stuff. But so I wasn't making that money, but I made good money. And learned how to build a business and how to build a team. And then that blew up, and I lost everything. So like you,
Johnny, one thing I'm finding here is wherever you go, there's like a great recession or a crash.
Yes.
Like everywhere you go. Hey, can you go join like Al Qaeda?
Yeah, can you get involved in ISIS or something?
Yeah, because then they would just implode. That's just where you go.
Well, here's the thing. You bring up a really good point. I mean, you're being really funny, but this is actually a really good point because I remember going into the mortgage industry after having lost my butt in the music industry because of to no fault of my own, and then again in the electronics manufacturing part, and then again in the electronics circuit board design part. All of a sudden, I'm like, you know what? Nobody's ever not going to need to borrow money. And what happened was in January of 2008, right before the crash, I was feeling the contraction. And so I renegotiated my deals with all the radio stations for a much lower price for a full year of guaranteed work, because think of it like a paid commercial. I owned a half hour of time and I paid for that. And then February, it crashed. And so I had listen, my advertising nut was $15,000 a month.
Wow.
That's what I paid for advertising, $15,000 a month. And going from paying $15,000 a month and grossing 250 to grossing zero because Wall Street closed their doors for a year. I had to make a bet and I had all kinds of credit. So I paid off the bills that I owed to in advance to the radio stations to keep those relationships so that when it would come back, because I didn't expect it would take too long to come back, but it did. And it wiped me out. I lost everything. Lost my house, lost my wife, lost a lot of things. And at that point, I felt one really important thing that, because I was really good at chasing the dollar. I could be making seven figures right now in sales, doing insurance and a lot of different things. I could do it. I've got that skill set. But I love building a team. I love building a business. I hated mortgage consumers. I didn't, and I thought, man, if this is what life is about, like it's this up and down, you went through it, Brent, in your life, I went through it. If this is the reality, then I better be doing something that I really, really love. And I wanted to get back to the music industry. So I came back to Nashville. I had nothing to lose now. And it was it was a blessing. It was a blessing. It was, you look at one thing, like wiped up, my 401k is gone, my savings is gone, my short sold my house. I lost $250,000 on my house, money I didn't have. I got blown up, and my wife, and that was a blessing. Yes. Yes, it was. And I came back. So now I brought all this news that I hated from marketing and online marketing and how to communicate with people and how to make an emotional connection back to the music industry. And what you were joking about before was like every time I was coming into the hairband thing, into the electronics, like electronics came back and manufacturing came back, all stuff came back. But like I was at the tail end of this cycle and I was like a day late and $1 short. But now I find I'm at the beginning of the cycle. Like I know I'm 2 years ahead of what everybody else knows in Nashville as far as the music industry is concerned and how to market online. And so that's where what Daredevil does, is what Daredevil brings to the table is we have, we've done some really incredible stuff with social media and artists. And we've got a 12-year-old artist that we work with now. She's 12 years old. I repeat that, not to be redundant, but just to drive the point home. We started working with her in February of 2015. We're recording this now in November 2015. She has almost 30,000 Instagram followers that are engaged. She puts up, it's an average of 650 likes, 85 comments. So we're creating real relationships online, and we're refining that process. It's like we didn't know it all coming in, but we're learning. She's got 25,000 Twitter followers. She's got a YouTube channel with over 225,000 views and 2,600 subscribers. She's got a customer list. Remember we were talking about customers? She's got that. Yes. That's the future of the music industry, and that's what I'm imparting with. And now, I'm taking meetings with different people that are interested in creating record labels, and because this is what's happening. Like the way that it used to work doesn't work anymore. The market changed, and the sales prove it. The biggest selling record 10 years ago in country music was sold 11 million records. The biggest selling record the best-selling country music record last year, barely cracked 1 million. In fact, in 2015, I might be wrong on this, but I believe we only have one platinum record right now, which is Jason Aldean. Or no, I'm sorry, which is Drake's track. I think that's the only one, you know? And so we're developing the art of how to sort of very ninja style, guerrilla style, target an audience for an artist and connect them. That's what we're doing. And then monetize it. Monetize that artist, create that relationship enough so that $10 isn't a lot of money. It's not a lot of money,
right? Yeah, and boy, I tell you, as a writer, I've seen that money disappear as well. But yeah, going from records that would go diamond, 10 million records sold to more like 10 records. I've had some songs on some artists' albums that have had number ones on them. And I have an album cut. And boy, having an album cut does not pay what it used to. I know back in the 90s, people have told me that you can make a pretty good living just getting album cuts. And that is not the way anymore, because you'd sell millions of records. With an album cut, that's real money. But now if you're only selling maybe a couple 100,000, that's not going to feed your family. So.
Yeah, people erroneously put, as human beings, we want to find somebody to blame. We want to find something to blame. Say, well, here's the reason for the lot in life that we have now in the music industry. It's because Spotify was invented and YouTube was invented, and but this is just marketing, people. I mean, everybody, just about any homeless person anywhere in the United States, anyway, can walk into with a can, or a Solo cup to any public park and get free tap water for free. And for people who aren't homeless, we can walk into any public building and get a little screw-on those screw-on water bottle things and fill our water out and get it for free. But yet, and this is important, everybody, the poorest people in this country walk into a gas station and buy a liter of bottled tap water for $1.99.
Right.
That's more than 3 times the price of a gas.
Right, yeah.
Get free. So it's not about the money. It's not about that they can get it for free. It's about, do they think it's worth it? And look at Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift gets it. Taylor Swift is, she's super famous, but that's not the only reason. She sells 8.6 million is what she's up to now on her 1989 record. That's like, getting darn close to Shania Twain numbers. In an era where we don't even have a record that's a platinum record that was released in 2015. We got one. Hers that was released last year in 2014. So it can be done. She just proved it to you. Guess what? You can sell 8.6 million records. You got to do it differently. How do you do it?
Right.
Create a relationship. So, having a cut on Taylor's record would have worked out pretty good for you.
That would have been all right. She writes all her own stuff.
So we're trying to bring that back. So that's the purpose of this podcast, y'all, is I'm blessed to be working with you, Brent, on this. I'm so stoked about this podcast, brother, because you get it. I mean, you get it. I have a lot of respect for you, not just as a songwriter, but as a business person, because we talked this in a later episode. By the time I met Brent, he had some writing on his thermos, and I'm like, what's that about? In the parking lot of this recording studio. He goes and tells me how he's got to remind himself, he's got to change his way of thinking to compete because the market changed in songwriting industry, and he had to keep up with it. And those details are in a later episode. But I just thought to myself, this is one smart cookie right here. Like, I want to hang out with this guy. So, man, I'm glad that you agreed to do this, and I'm blessed to be on board with you, brother.
Well, I'm looking forward to it too, because I think for everyone listening that we bring a different skill set. I'm in the songwriting world. I'm a lyricist, so I'm going to focus on that. But also just the business side of the songwriting, all that stuff is a little bit more what I'm going to talk about. And Johnny, of course, knows the marketing side. He's been on the road. He's entertained fans, and so we bring kind of hopefully a complementary skill set that will be helpful for you, the listener. And we're glad you're here, and we're just going to kick out several of these, and if you like it, if you're watching on YouTube, definitely leave a comment. Let us know what you think about it. If you have any suggestions for future shows, leave a comment down at the bottom. If you're listening to us on on a podcast, definitely go over to iTunes if you're listening there and leave us a rating or review. Let us know what you think about us. Tell your friends, because the more you give us ratings and reviews, the more the people like you can find us and the more people we can help. And hopefully, give artists the information they need, give songwriters the information they need to be more successful. And that's what it's about, to create some leverage.
It creates some leverage, just to figure out how to think about it differently, because it requires thinking about it differently. And I'll tell you that the biggest pitfall that I'm seeing now, and why this podcast is going to be important for people, is we want to learn from our icons, right? We want to learn from what we see every day, and how music is marketed right now is not how music's going to be marketed tomorrow. And I submit to you that the new artists that are coming out are already starting to figure that out. So a lot of people are like, wow, I'm with so-and-so and he's got 10 million records sold. He's this producer. It's that record label. It's manager. It's that. And these guys are smart and they know what they're doing, but the game changed on them. And so not everybody, and I've seen this is important. I saw this happening in the electronics industry a lot of people don't understand this, but electronics industry used to be a really huge, like distribution-based industry. There was multi-$100 million corporations that were publicly traded that distributed electronic stuff, products, parts, soldering irons, this, that, the other thing. And they were huge. And then Michael Dell comes out and starts making computers and says, you know what? We got these chains like CompUSA where they sell computers. It's a chain store. But if I'm going to spend the money to create the momentum and to make people excited about my product, and why would I send them into a store where some kid's going to easily sell them a Hewlett-Packard computer or a Compaq computer or a competitor's computer? Why would I do that when I've got the internet, which just kind of came out, and I'm going to try to do what I can do to so he first got him out and sell a really important tool direct from the internet. If I'm going to spend the money and do all the effort and create all the traffic, I'm going to take 100% of the money, and that's what I deserve. And it wasn't too long after that, maybe 8 years, where Michael Dell was the richest man in Texas. It wasn't an oil guy. It was Michael Dell, but he changed the industry forever, because all of a sudden you started seeing what did you start seeing? Like you start seeing Levi's create outlet stores. Why do I want to sell through JCPenney when now I can sell online, or I can create an outlet store and take 100% of that $60 I'm going to sell that pair of jeans for, as opposed to spending, only getting half price for it and selling who knows how much less, because they got Lee, they've got all these other brands, that work. So that's the kind of paradigm shift that's happening. And it happened in the travel industry, right? When the internet came out, what happened to all the travel agents of the world? There's not that many left, because people didn't need them anymore. I can go book my own plane flight. I can go book my own rental car. So it became a more of a plus the years kind of thing, and less of an absolute necessity. If you're booking a trip, you need a travel agent kind of a thing. So this is what's happening in the music industry. We're going to shed some light on that, and it affects songwriters. That's why Brent's here. It affects artists. That's why I'm here, and we're going to try to keep them short, 20 minutes. So it's easy to consume on a commute into town. You can listen to the podcast. You can watch our YouTube channel, which is the C.L.I.M.B, and you know what? That's all I got to say about that. Yeah.
That is. That's all I got to say about it too. Hey, we do have a couple giveaways. We're going to do real quick here. I have a free book called Think Like a Pro Songwriter. You can get that at giftfrombrent.com. It's a free download ebook, giftfrombrent.com, and it just tells you kind of the insight into the mind of a pro songwriter, because if you want to be a pro, you need to think like a pro. And Johnny, you have a free
That's right. I'm not going to let you just be the only Santa Claus. We're going to be dueling Santa Claus. So I've got a best-selling Twitter that's on Amazon, but giving it away for free on the podcast. If it's Twitter 101, it'll teach you, it demystifies Twitter. So this is for starters. And if you think, if you've been kind of not exactly sure how Twitter works, this is the book that'll spell everything out for you. It'll teach you how to gain 1,000 targeted fans every single month in just 15 minutes a day. We boil it down and make it super efficient for you, so you're not wasting a lot of time trying to expand your fan base. But they're out there. You can find people that are going to be predisposed to like your music. So giftfromjohnny, JOHNNY.com, giftfromjohnny.com. Just go there, tell me where to send it, and we'll get the book to you. So with that,
all right.
I guess we say, hey, thanks for checking out The Climb. We've got a bunch of episodes coming up with some really good stuff on it, guys, and we'll see you at the top.
Take care. God bless.